All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. Monday, September 16th, 2019. Haven't made a video for a few days because I've actually been entertaining a fellow Truth Seeker. There was a person who was going to meet me up in Philadelphia for the event I was supposed to speak at. They were very disappointed that was canceled. They'd taken off vacation time. They said they really wanted to meet me. I said, well, do you want to come out to the small town I live in? And they said, sure, I'd love to do that. So I've been entertaining them for a few days, so I haven't had as much time. They're on their way back home now, so time to make a video. And of course, over the weekend, the big news story was the Saudi Arabia oil field attack, which at first was blamed on rebels in Yemen. Don't forget Wesley Clark, a decade ago, talking about the document, all the places the U.S. intended to invade after 9/11, Yemen on that list. But it shifted from Yemen to Iran, and that's no surprise. Since this summer, even this spring really, going back to this spring, we continue to hear the stories, acts of war by Iran, from seizing oil tankers to shooting down drones, to now the latest, being largely responsible for an attack on the U.S. ally, the place known as the 51st state, Saudi Arabia. And of course, this attack is, making big profits for commodities investors in the oil industry. So go figure. Now, what I want to show you is how this is more news by the numbers, which is the code the New World Order works by. The code that many U.S. politicians speak of, the New World Order. So this attack came September 14th, 19, a date with 42 numerology, and that's the war number. We continue to talk about this number. Again and again in these events, this number 42 is present. Iran equals 42. The site that was hit in Saudi Arabia was Saudi Aramco, which equals 42. So you got 42 date numerology, you got a 42 target. Now it's blamed on Iran, a 42 nation, war, world war, it's all 42. And you have to think about what's going on. Why does Iran have a name that sums to 42? Who gave it that name? Don't forget, Iran came out of the world wars in the time that English was the language of the world. See, that's what the New World Order's done. They've created this new, unnecessary, nonsensical language, which is English. English truly is a nonsensical language if you actually look at it. Just started thinking about, what in the world? Why do we use this word for this? And why is this spelled this way? It's because the whole thing is based on Gematria, which comes from Hebrew, which is about letters and numbers, which, again, connects to Kabbalah and the Cabal, which is another term for the New World Order. Kabbalah says God created the world with letters, numbers, words. So, the New World Order, they've created the world the way they want it. And we're living on a planned agenda. That's what people need to understand. I mean, ever since 9/11 happened, they've been foreshadowing this coming conflict with Iran. They've made us seem like we're on the verge of war with Iran since 2001. It's almost 20 years later. This is a building narrative. What does CNN say right now? The drumbeat to hold Iran responsible gets louder. And I mean, who in 2019 is taking U.S. intelligence seriously? I mean, how's that even possible? How dumb do you have to be to take U.S. intelligence seriously in 2019? I mean, were you alive after 9/11 happened? 9/11 a complete lie, and then nothing but lies after 9/11? Lie, 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 lie. I mean, that's all it's been. One lie after the next. We know where the weapons are. They're in the areas north, south, east, and west of Baghdad. And anyone with a brain knew they were never going to come up with any weapons. Just all BS. This is all BS. Was there even really a bombing at this place? I wouldn't be surprised if they're just making the whole thing up. Just spike oil prices, gouge the public for even more. Anyway, whether there was a real bombing or not, we know who's responsible. The New World Order. Who's the New World Order? It's the banker tyrants. It's the corporatists. It's people you can't say anymore on YouTube. Do the math. Who controls your media? Who controls your government? It's not hard to see, unless you're wearing a blindfold and earplugs. Also, coming back to 42, don't forget the big 42, Freemason. and think about the U.S. Capitol, named after the Freemason war general, George Washington. We're going to talk more about that. The last major incident with Iran was July 18th. We had the drone incident, shooting down the drone. From that incident to the September 14th bombing was 58 days later. 58. Freemasonry, Rosicrucian Secret Society, 58. Donald Trump, the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election, the rigged election. Don't forget the military drills done in the U.S. Jade Helm, another 58. Freemasonry coated all over it. And today's latest headlines. U.S. has assessed that the attack in Saudi Arabia came from inside Iran. These latest headlines this Monday. Date with 44 numerology, military, 44. So that's the latest. Just to go back to the incident, September 14th. September 14th, it was a date with 42 numerology. It was also a date with 26 and 62 numerology. And when it first happened, they blamed it on Yemen. They said this is the responsibility of rebels from Yemen. Yemen's Houthi rebels on Saturday took responsibility for the attacks. So 2662 Yemen, 6226 in Gematria. If you haven't read my book, the first chapter is about why are there 26 letters in the English alphabet. It's a number that represents God in Hebrew and in English. You know, the four-letter name of God in Hebrew sums to 26. Sums to 26 in English as well. The word God also sums to 26. G-O-D. G7, O's 15, D's 4. 7 plus 15 plus 4. 26. It's not arbitrary that we have 26 letters. And again, the New World Order, they're all about control and playing God over the lives of the masses, especially using their things such as government, media. So what a day to blame Yemen. And again, it was also a date with 42 numerology, number we talk about all the time. Like we said, the target there, 42. So let me just make sure there's nothing extra I need to share on this slide. I think we got it all here. Keep in mind, all this, they fired John Bolton, right? John Bolton, one of the planners of 9/11, the invasion of the Middle East, part of the Project for a New American Century, PNAC. Right after his firing, all this stuff happens. That's not an accident. Maybe it just means, this is John Bolton's retirement plan. He helped orchestrate so much. Now he just gets to sit back and see his work in motion. On September 15th, yesterday, Sunday, CNN kept this up as their headline for almost the entire day, which is not typical of CNN. Typically, they change their top story probably once an hour, change the headline, change the picture. They kept it up just like this almost all day. Trump says U.S. is locked and loaded. And notice locked and loaded is 110 like president. Locked and loaded is also 56 like Washington, D.C. They posted this September 15th, right? 15/9 like 159. Donald Trump 159, Scottish Rite 159, again Washington, D.C., named after the Scottish Rite. Freemason war general George Washington. September 15th, the day leaving 107 days left in the year, military 107. The headlines about how the U.S. military is ready to go. It's ready for another confrontation. Based on more bogus intelligence, based on another false flag. That's what the U.S. is. The bully of the world. And, just to make a point real quick about September 15th headlines, here's just a couple more. You had a death on September 15th, which is now blamed on suicide. I see my camera's frozen again. Rick Ocasek of the Cars supposedly killed himself September 15th, 15/9. Notice Rick Ocasek's 159. Isn't that nice? And then Adrian Peterson passed Jim Brown in the record books for become 5th all-time for touchdowns scored. Notice Adrian Peterson, 159, 15/9. The kicker yesterday was he scored his 107th rushing touchdown to pass Jim Brown at 106. And he did this on September 15th, the day leaving 107 days left in the year. If you pay attention to the NFL, go through and look at the box scores yesterday. See how many stats came up 107 and also 28. 107 is the 28th prime number. Field day with those numbers. So just understand, Freemasonry. They control almost everything in the media. All American sports are credited to Freemasonry. It's why you learn this code, you just see through everything. The rigged games, the rigged news, the rigged elections, all done by the same code. The ritual murders, all done by the same code, you know. Just to go back, we were having these captured oil tanker stories. The 2 oil tankers captured, supposedly by Iran, they came 36 days apart. The stories, notice oil's 36. Again, news by the numbers is the point. The second capture was on a date with 65 numerology, United Kingdom 65. Notice oil tankers 42. Again, connecting it to Iran, an act of war. You see how they just code the same stuff? The same stuff. All propaganda. And it always points in one direction. Freemasonry. You know, modern Freemasonry began June 24th, 1717 in London, England. Mason is 17, thus why the year 1717. So you can go back and watch these older videos. I'm just combing over some of this stuff, just all that they encoded in the story. Again, you learn this code, you see how day after day it's all news by the numbers. There was also a capture on June 13th, 2019. And prior to that, there was another incident on May 12th, which was 32 days earlier, or a span of 33 days. But again, the thing to get in your head is how everything encoded on all of these stories points in one direction. Freemasonry. And I don't know how people can deny it. I hate that I get so many calls from Masons going, hey, I'm in Freemasonry and it's not all that bad, man. I don't think it's Masonry that's doing it. Okay, you at your little lodge, your insignificant lodge, at your second degree is not who I'm talking about. You know, I'm talking about people like the ones in elected office. You know, the ones who are presidents of nations, in charge of militaries, in charge of banks, in charge of corporations. Big difference. Not you at the little lodge who doesn't know anything and who learns more about Freemasonry from me than what you actually learn in your lodge. Let's establish the two things and the differences. Okay, so, and oh yeah, the also the Japan incident. I'm sure I have it here. Maybe I didn't write it down. We'll see. Did I skip it? Oh no, I didn't. Japan's another 42. You know, the Japanese oil tanker. Remember when this happened? The seizure of the Japanese oil tanker. It was while the president of Japan was visiting Iran. I mean, does that make any sense? That, you know, Iran's going to hijack a Japanese oil tanker while the leaders of the two respective nations are visiting each other the same day? Again, that should just be signs of this new world order, which Iran is very much a part of. You know, you think the CIA overthrew it almost, you know, how many years ago now? Over half a century ago, and they ever let control of it go to anybody other than some CIA-friendly asset? Of course not. You know, supposedly people who are awake in the truth community, they can't see that Iran is part of, you know, this new world order cabal. You have to know nothing about history to be blind to that. So, be careful who you're getting your information from. Most people don't have a clue what they're talking about. Most people have no evidence for anything they're spouting either. Whereas yours truly has, you know, about 30,000 documentations of what is going on by one very undeniable pattern. Letters and numbers is a Kabbalistic practice, which is very important to Freemasonry. Freemasonry is all over the governments of the world, the media programs of the world. You know, it's just one direction all things point to. So, and somehow I think I skipped some slides here. Where did they go? I got to pull them back up. Let's see if this pulls it up. Drone, July 18th. Let's see. Yeah, so here was this story too. Trump says U.S. destroyed an Iranian drone. This was July 18th after Iran supposedly destroyed one of our drones June 20th. And from the June 20th incident to the July 18th incident was 29 days later. Drone equals 29. Again, news by the numbers. The name of the drone that was shot down on June 20th was an RQ-4 Global Hawk drone, which equals 187. That was on the summer solstice, which equals 187. And then when does the next drone get shot down? July 18th, 18/7, like 187. And realize, the nations have to cooperate for the truth to never come out. New World Order. They emphasize destroyed, a word that sums to 47, like Trump, like president, like White House, like government, like DC, like authority, and the list goes on. The cabal equals 47. 47 degrees on the Masonic compass. Washington, D.C.'s 187. George Washington's 187. Ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry's 187. What's etched on the Scottish Rite headquarters in D.C. 187. Don't forget that Trump had his GOP convention start 18/7, like 187, a span of 187 days before Inauguration Day, which we pointed out before the convention even started. Is Trump going to be the next president? Is he the next rigged, or the next beneficiary of the rigged system? That was a date with 44 and 64 numerology. Again, military 44. The ship that shot down the drone on July 18th was the USS Boxer. A lot of interesting numbers here, including the 33, which again points back to Masonry, Order, Secrecy, Federal, Masonry 33, War Games 33, Act of War 33. Fox News goes with the headline, Drone Downed. Not by accident, mainstream media. Practitioners of the code. Drone downed in the most pure cipher, 58. Picture a chump who won the rigged 58th U.S. presidential election, who announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower, who hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day. And then the bombing over the weekend was 58 days after this incident. 58 days later. It's just pathetic, It's pathetic how repetitive it all is. We talked about how they coded 56 into that one Trump headline about locked and loaded in response to the bombings. Just reminds me that the drone incident on the summer solstice also had the 56 coded in it. In Washington, D.C.'s 56 as well. So we'll leave it there for now. I think I made my point. Going to upload a few more videos on some of the stories I missed in the time that I was away. There's been a few notable deaths. If you don't keep up with my blog, I try to keep up with the stories here. So, oh yeah, I like this too about the escalation right now between the U.S. and Iran. General Keane says U.S. holding all the cards. Think about it. The Trump card, House of Cards, the TV show when Trump becomes president. So, anyway. Anytime you watch the TV or listen to the news, you're just listening to nothing but lies and propaganda. And when you learn this code, you can see just how orchestrated it all is, with evidence, with proof, which is undeniable unless you live in denial. So, leave it there. Be back shortly. Got a few more videos to upload. Got Dwayne Chapman back in hospital care, synced up with the passing of his wife. On this date with the 44 and 64 numerology, he's in the headlines. They refer to him as Dwayne Dog Chapman, which is 64. His wife died earlier this year, June 26th. Remember, dog equals 26. Dog the bounty hunter. From the death to him in the news for health problems is 82 days later. Dog the bounty hunter, 82. And anyway, so might make a video on that with some more information. Got a death of a NASCAR person in the news, September 16th, the day with this 44 and 64 numerology. He reportedly died yesterday in a plane crash. Former NASCAR driver, Michael Stefanik, dead 118 days after his birthday. We see it all the time. Death 118. Crashed on a date with 43 numerology, plane crash 43, and then the news comes on the day where we're always hearing about death in the news. The date with the 44 and 64 numerology, Michael Stefanik, 64. Kill 44, 64. Clockwork every month on this date. Deaths in the headlines by the numbers. So, make a video here on the death of the Cars front man. And even things like PewDiePie. You want to know how you get views on YouTube? It's because you got to be in the Masonic gang. Look at this. PewDiePie marriage in the news August 19th, 2019. 66 days from his birthday. Wedding 66. Wedding's also 39. He got married on a date with a life lesson number of 39. You know, that's the reason a person who has zero intelligence, zero humor, is supposedly the most viewed person on YouTube. YouTube is not a legitimate platform. It is a controlled platform. If your voice is getting out there, it's because YouTube is allowing it. And right before the Patriots 43-0 win on the date with 43 numerology. By the way, Dolphins equals 43, Florida 43, football 43, Masonic 43. The day before that blowout, you had the death of an original New England Patriot at age 82. Back when they were the Boston Patriots, New England Patriots is 82. Vesica Piscis, which is the shape of the football, is 82. And there's a few things that jump out here, so might make some more in-depth videos on this. He died on the 257th day of the year, connecting to blood sacrifice. 257 is the 55th prime. Boston, Massachusetts is 55. Again and again, you learn this code, you just see through what's really going on in this world. And yeah, to call yourself a truth seeker and not share this knowledge is just to be, I don't know. Not about the truth. Not a good truth researcher, that's for sure. Here's another big viral story today. SNL fires new hire Shane Gillis. Notice how they emphasize SNL 45 like racism. He's hired for past racist statements. Rituals 45, firings 45. And if you read the reporting, SNL's 45th season is about to begin. He was going to be a part of it, but instead he's fired. So, looks like they hired him just to fire him, just to, make the point. And what makes me sick about all this is, the people you can't speak of. If you look at the programming they put out, like last year there was some sitcom and they kept running the commercial all year for some TV show. Don't quote me on what TV show it was, but I know if you were watching football games last year, you probably saw the commercial 1,000 times. Some sitcom had 3 people of different races in the room. I can't remember what it was. An Asian guy, a black guy, a Middle Eastern guy. And somebody says into the room, hey, there's a cop outside. And all 3 of them, or I think it was a Mexican guy, a black guy, and a Middle Eastern guy. And all 3 of them come up with some stereotype of why the cop might be there. The Middle Eastern guy thinks oh God, I hope they don't think I'm a terrorist. I forget what the other 2 people say, but just perpetuating racial stereotypes. And I was just like, imagine if the Jewish writers of that show made a joke with the Jewish guy in the room. How would that be perceived? You'd probably have Congress the next day passing some new legislation. You know what I mean? So in the time that everybody's just cracking down on all these things, just realize what's not being cracked down on. You know, realize who's the one group of people who are still allowed to slander and make fun of everyone, but just they can't be spoken about. You know, so we'll leave it there. Be back with a few more videos very shortly. Enjoy the rest of your day, Truth Seeker. Till next time.